Dylan McDermott stars in the new Ryan Murphy Netflix series Hollywood as a very, very interesting gas station owner, Ernie. I'm Tony Ruiz from Gold Derby, and Dylan. One of the things that when I was watching this show is Ernie is so multifaceted. He starts off kind of as one thing, and by the end of the series, he in many ways seems to me to be the heart, in a strange way, the heart of the series. So when Ryan Murphy first came to you with this, what did he tell you about Ernie?
Pretty much the whole gas station adventure, that Ernie was running this gas station and there was prostitution involved, and that Ernie was a fascinating character. There was this, the Scotty Bowers of it all. So I kind of mixed Scotty Bowers with Clark Gable, but it really was a tale of Hollywood. What Hollywood looked like, the movie stars, and then he added on top of everything, the cherry on top is this revisionist story, which I thought was absolutely fascinating. So what would it be like if things were different, And I thought really that's the most amazing thing about the series is this revisionist tale. Faction is what Ryan calls it.
That's such a great term. I love that term because in many ways the series is, as many period Ryan Murphy shows are, is so carefully and detailed and exact. What was it like being in that universe with those sets and costumes? And it had to be kind of almost an immersive experience.
It was, and it was, I was very specific about the way Ernie looked. Ryan initially wanted him to have a crew cut, and I wasn't sure about that. And then the poster of the Misfit sits in my house, and I look at Clark Gable every day, and he's became a muse for this character. And I went to Ryan and I said, I think he looks more like Clark Gable. Can I show you this look? And I showed him the mustache, and he was like, yeah, let's go with that. But every detail of Ernie, it was a science. Even down to his underwear. I had underwear made that were from the 40s. Material, because I wanted every detail of this guy, from his jewelry to his necklace to his hair to his mustache. That mustache took forever to trim every morning. There was an impeccability about Ernie that I really, really enjoyed. And the best thing, that's just the look, of course, but then the thing that was different about him really was his optimism. He had a great optimism, even in the struggle of life and everything that was happening to him. I enjoyed playing him because he had this incredible optimism about him. So that was just so much fun to play.
And it is, you touch on something that I wanted to touch on, because he is certainly definitely an optimist, but then at the same time, you also get these really kind of just outright comedic moment, and then at the completely other end of the spectrum, there's a certain tragic element to him. Is that part of? I mean, how do you even go about balancing those elements? And does one appeal to you more than the other?
I've made definitely a decision in my career along the way. It's almost somebody wrote about it. I don't know who it was, maybe the Hollywood Reporter, but it really was I made a decision to make a comic pivot in my career. And that really started with the campaign, working with Will Ferrell. I hosted Saturday Night Live years ago, and I worked with Will Ferrell and Zach, and I had done stand-up when I was a kid, and I kind of had moved away from all of that and became a serious actor along the way. But then I was like, you know what? I was happier before when I was in the comic world, and then I did LA to Vegas, and I just started doing, and even on American Horror Story in 1984, I just let myself be my funny, weird self, and Ernie was certainly a part of that. Like I sat down and I try to meditate on these characters, and I really wanted Ernie to have everything you just described. You know, I wanted him to be funny. I wanted him to be tragic. I wanted him to be elegant. I wanted him to be a bit of a thug. I wanted him to be an actor, a producer, a showman. All those things, you know, I discussed with Ryan and then tried to, you know, piece them all together in what is Ernie West. So that was really fun to kind of, because I always look at a role as a mathematical problem. And so the math of Ernie was really interesting to calculate and to put it into motion and to add it all up. And then you get this, you get Ernie, which is such a fun, amazing character. I said the other day that, you know, even when I was done with work, I would sit in my trailer and I didn't want to go home because I still wanted to be him.
Yeah, and there certainly is this kind of P.T. Barnum sort of element to him, and like he really is kind of like this ringmaster who also, in a certain way, really seems to develop a caring relationship, almost a paternal relationship with these young men that work for him. Did that relationship also include kind of your working relationship with some of the younger actors that you work pretty closely with?
Yeah, you know, it was a mix. There was also the genius of Ryan, I have to say, that, you know, he could have made Ernie an opportunist and to exploit these guys. And that would have been the easy way to do it. And that would have been what we've already seen somewhere along the way, you know, some guy just exploiting people, exploiting men or women for money. And what he did was something so cool, is that he kind of made Ernie tolerant of the guys of that era. And I just thought that was amazing, you know, just to have somebody be tolerant of a gay man in the 40s is just like kind of unheard of. And that's the genius of Ryan, that he made, you know, Ernie that character rather than someone who just exploits.
Yeah, exactly. You could have easily, you know, been twirling the mustache as well as anything else.
Right.
You know, this collaboration with you and Ryan Murphy, you know, goes back quite a number of years now, and through a various number of projects. What is it about your working relationship with Ryan that just keeps you, you know, going back to that well?
Well, I mean, there's nobody like him. I mean, you want to work with the best people in the business, and Ryan certainly. I always say that Ryan is the Andy Warhol of our time. I mean, he just understands pop culture in a way that nobody else does, and he's able to translate that. He has these ideas that he's able to put on film, and that's why I love working with him. I really believe he's a genius, and he gives me and allows me to create characters like in American Horror Story, the 3 characters I created there, which were all very different. And then The Politician, and now Hollywood. He gives me things to do that no one else does. And I think that's why actors love him. I think that we all love him because he gives us opportunity and he trusts us. And that's something that's very, very rare, to have somebody do that.
You know, you work with not just, you know, these younger actors like, you know, Jeremy Pope and David Corn Sweat and Jake Picking, but you also you know, have somewhat of a mini reunion with your practice co-star Holland Taylor in some very, very sweet moments.
Yes, I love that scene.
Yeah, your working relationship with her obviously goes back a number of years, but how was this different? Did this have a different feel for you working with her this time?
Yeah, you know how life is. For me at least, you know, I've evolved so much and changed so much over time and over the years, and who I was, you know, that young man in the practice is far away from who I am now, you know, and it's great to work with the same people because you get to mark the way you have changed. And you know, I could see my growth as an actor all that time away from the practice, which is like 2004, maybe it ended, until now, which is now 16 years later, which is crazy. And so I could see my change as an actor and how I've deepened and gotten better. I mean, because there's no there with being an actor. You never arrive. You never figure it out. It's always it's always a dangerous game, acting, because sometimes you think you have it and then you don't have it, and you lose it, you get it. So it's great to find those people to work with again, so you can kind of see your trajectory as an actor and how you've gotten better or worse.
Well, have you, because you've had such a long and varied career, you talk about those changes with you as an actor, and yet the industry has certainly changed in terms of like the platforms that are available. How do you see that change? I mean, this is a show that in many ways, lends itself to this kind of, streaming, binging thing that we have right now. How do you feel about how the industry has changed in terms of the opportunities and the way media is delivered?
Well, now we're again in another change. I mean, when I first came up, I started in the movies, and then I had decided to go to television when, back then it was a marker that your film career was in trouble. But I kind of saw the future, and I thought, that television, this was like the late 90s before it exploded. And then, everything became streaming. You jump on that bandwagon, and now we're in another change. What is television going to look like during or after the pandemic? Where is it going to be? Is it going to be more like this? Is it going to be, like we are now? Small studios, smaller crews, cheaper content. I don't know. I think that we're always evolving. We're always kind of like figuring it out. And now here we are again, trying to figure it out. I have a couple of shows that, I'm producing and trying to figure out what that looks like. So, I mean, I think the industry is always going to change. There's always going to be something different. And the great thing about us as people, and I was just saying this yesterday, is that we adapt. We adapt to whatever you give us, no matter what's happening in the world. The greatest thing I believe about people is that we just figure it out.
So with all those options and opportunities and things like that, are there certain types of stories or characters that you're particularly drawn to?
I think complex characters more than anything else. I think we've all seen so much. We're all critics. Very little impresses us anymore. So how do you play a character that is riveting and complex when you've seen everything? I think and a character like Ernie certainly was a feast to play. So, you look for those characters, which are, very few, because everything a lot of times is a cliche.
Well, and there's also kind of like the good side of the cliche in terms of, and coming back to Hollywood, because, this kind of, particularly in the time period that we're living in, it seems like it appeals to kind of this like, oh, here's the world that we wish we could have.
Yeah.
What is it about this show that you think will just draw people in?
Well, I mean, we're living in a time now that we kind of need this. I think Hollywood is, oddly enough, arriving at the perfect time, because I think we need a little bit of entertainment right now in our lives. I think we're all in a very tenuous place, physically and emotionally, and it's nice to escape. And I think that Hollywood, funny enough, it really is the dream factory. It started off as the dream factory, and I think that this show kind of will let you just forget for a moment. And I think that's what entertainment is the best thing about entertainment for me, is when I watch something and I forget about everything else, and I'm just in this world of these people, this time period. That's the most exciting thing, and I think that this show really supplies that.
Yeah, there's been rumors, I don't know if this is true or not, that there's talk of Hollywood becoming kind of like an anthology. Mm-hmm. Is that something you would be in for? Should that come to pass?
I mean, yeah, if there was another season of it, yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, whatever Ryan asked me to do, I just say yes. I don't even have to read it. Yes, I just like yes, of course.
um, well, it's just such a great performance and such a rich series, and
Thank you.
I really appreciate talking to you today.
You
Everybody,
too.
go to goldderby.com, make your predictions for the Emmys, and stay tuned for more interviews throughout the season. Dylan McDermott, thank you so much.
Thank you. Be safe.